Serious athletes around the world will tell you that the competitive drive to win can be vicious. Besides the overall satisfaction of personal accomplishment and happiness with their self image, athletes often pursue dreams of winning a medal for their country or securing a spot on a professional team. Athletes look for anything to make them better at what they do, hence the reason why the use of performance enhancing drugs have become increasingly common. These performance enhancers can give yourself the satisfaction you're looking for, but only with great consequences. So, is it really worth it? This is why the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency should establish a policy that prohibits the use of performance-enhancing drugs against all professional sports. Performance-enhancing drugs in pro sports sets a bad example for high school athletes that they look up to. High school athletes see their favorite or famous athletes getting caught with PEDs all the time. This shows the students what made these professionals so good at what they do. Everyone is familiar with the famous athletes who have admitted to using performance-enhancing drugs, so it is no surprise that according to the Mayo Clinic staff, as many as 1 in 20 teenagers report using steroids to increase muscle mass. For example, most of us know about Alex Rodriguez of the New York Yankees getting caught along with Ryan Braun of the Milwaukee Brewers and many more using PEDs in the Biogenesis project run by Tony Bosch. These Major League Baseball stars had many little kids around the world looking up to them and wanting to be like them someday. Now, these kids see what made these athletes so good at what they do, and it was all a lie. The Biogenesis project wasn't the first time Rodriguez had been caught with a performance-enhancing drug. The first time he was caught was back in 2009, admitting to the use of performance-enhancing drugs in an interview with ESPN. Rodriguez told veteran baseball reporter Peter Gamos that he experimented with steroids during his seasons with the Texas Rangers from 2001 to 2003, trying to convince himself that he was worthy of a record-setting $252 million contract. Rodriguez himself stated that, back then, it was a different culture. It was loose. I was young, I was stupid, I was naive. I wanted to prove to everyone that I was worth being one of the greatest players of all time. Now, the thought of being one of the greatest of all time runs through everyone who wants to achieve greatness. High school athletes want that greatness, and seeing the professionals do it, that the athletes themselves look up to, makes them think about taking these drugs to help their individual performance at the sport that they do. According to Jay Hoffman, approximately 20% of high school-aged males and females suggested that professional athletes do, in fact, influence their decision to use anabolic steroids. When students were asked whether anabolic steroids used by professional athletes influenced their friends' decision, affirmative results rose to nearly 50%. Another testimony is that Digital Citizens Alliance stated a whopping 77% of males surveyed by Digital Citizens Alliance said that performance-enhancing drugs in professional sports puts pressure on young students to get ahead. The use of performance-enhancing drugs can have very major consequences. The human body can have many horrendous symptoms happen to it. Males can develop prominent breasts, shrunken testicles, and infertility. Women can develop a deeper voice and increased body hair. A few experiences both men and women can experience would be severe acne, heart and circulatory problems, drug dependence, depression, and aggressive behaviors. For example, Lance Armstrong was a 7-time cycling champion. He vehemently denied illegal drug boosts in his performance, but on August 24, 2012, the US ADA announced that his 7 tour championships will be taken away from him. October of the same year, the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency released its evidence against Armstrong, which included documents such as laboratory tests, emails, and monetary payments. Travis Tygart, chief executive of the U.S. ADA, said in a statement, "This evidence shows beyond any doubt that the U.S. pro cycling team ran the most sophisticated, professionalized, and successful doping program that the sport had ever seen. Lance Armstrong had had everything taken away from him and worst of all developed cancer. He developed testicular cancer in October of 1996. The tumors had spread to his abdomen, lungs, and lymph nodes, and doctors also found that there were tumors on his brain. Luckily for him, after repeated aggressive rounds of chemotherapy, Armstrong was finally declared cancer-free 16 months after the cancer was found." Another story of the use of performance-enhancing drugs leading to a terrible occurrence of the human body is the story of Lyle Alzado, who was the first NFL player to admit to using performance-enhancing drugs. Lyle was an all-pro defensive end whose 15 career was split among the Denver Broncos, Cleveland Browns, and Los Angeles Raiders between the years 1971 through 1985. But he is best known for being the poster boy for steroid abuse among the league. He developed terminal brain cancer and died in 1992. Lyle himself blamed his abuse of the drugs and human growth hormone to his brain cancer. From the steroids causing rage, his teammates said that they'll always remember him as a physically imposing and ferocious player. His teammate Tom Jackson said he would build up into that rage, and then you would see it come out, and it would come out in the form of hits for losses, tackles, and it came out in the form of sacks. Simply put, PEDs have the ability to drastically change the human body and biological functions, including the ability to considerably improve athletic performances. These drugs, however, can be extremely dangerous and in some cases lead to death. The negative effects these drugs can have on one's body make the USADA's mission prominent as to why no athlete should ever have to consider PED use to succeed in sports. The U.S. Anti-Doping Agency should establish a policy that prohibits the use of performance-enhancing drugs against all professional sports.